Not since Batman or the Sith have we seen so much vengeance, because ominous reporting suggests that Donald Trump is motivated by and preparing for a sweeping plan of political vengeance if he takes the White House in 2024. Former President of the United States and current leader of history's most dangerous cult, Donald Trump, has yet to formally announce whether he'll run for the presidency again in 2024. However, for months, in private, in public, and at rallies, he has hinted that he intends to do so. And as both the Democratic-led House of Representatives, and more dangerously for Trump, the Department of Justice, continue to investigate January 6th and the events surrounding it, reports have suggested that Trump is more motivated to run for the presidency in 2024 in order to avoid the consequences. Those consequences potentially including criminal charges and prosecution for Trump and his allies. These reports suggest that Trump is, once again, intending to exploit the office of the presidency, which is the office in this country most protected from civil and criminal liability. However, that insulation extends only to current or sitting presidents. Former presidents? Not so much. But currently on the horizon, there are some silver linings for we freedom-loving Americans and some thunderstorms ahead for the orange-hued fascist. Those two silver linings are: first, according to recent polling, despite his own abysmally low approval rating, President Biden is still favored to beat Trump in a 2024 hypothetical matchup. Second, recent polling also indicates that Republican voters are starting to cool off from Trump, suggesting that the January 6 hearings are having a positive effect. So, given all these facts, will Trump run again? Who the hell knows? But, given the stakes and his current desperation, there is a damn good chance. However, I think we should all err on the side of caution and bank on Trump running again. And then, assuming he does and the worst case scenario happens, in which he wins the Republican nomination and then ultimately the presidency in 2024, what the hell would that look like? As you would probably expect, pretty damn bleak. A superbly written and genuinely terrifying recent Axios expose by Jonathan Swan dives deeper. First, there's strong indication that a re-inaugurated President Trump would reauthorize a particularly dangerous executive order from October 2020. In October 2020, right before the election, President Trump drafted an executive order which created a Schedule F class of federal employees. These employees are currently well-protected bureaucrats and policymakers from select federal agencies. By reassigning them as Schedule F, these employees are essentially stripped of their job security, making them at-will employees easily dismissed by the president and turning their offices into political appointments. As a bit of a vibe check, consider that most modern presidents are only able to fire and replace about 4,000 federal employees who are politically appointed. However, if the Schedule F class were reauthorized, 50,000 federal workers would qualify. This executive order by Trump in 2020 was widely condemned by Democrats, legal and political scholars, and policy experts, who all said that it would create a chilling effect on the dissenting or apolitical views and decisions of career policymakers in the federal government, effectively creating a government which is nothing more than an echo chamber for the current administration. And that's pretty damn dangerous. And even though President Biden responsibly rescinded this dangerous executive order in January 2021, a re-inaugurated President Trump could easily reinstitute it. Additionally, Axios also reports that truly dangerous radicals are closely advising President Trump now or are doing the preliminary work for a second hypothetical Trump administration in 2025. Names of these political advisors or administrative vanguard include the usual suspects, such as Jim Nazium Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Stephen Miller, Matt Gaetz, Mark Meadows, and others. But consider the names of lesser-known but equally dangerous radicals such as Jeffrey Clark, a controversial Trump attorney who Trump wanted to install as the acting attorney general in the final days of the Trump administration. You may have heard Clark's name thrown around in the recent House January 6 hearings, because he's the guy who drafted an insane memo to Georgia state election officials lying that the Department of Justice found sufficient evidence to overturn Georgia's election results and urging those state election officials to send a different slate of electors to certify President Trump over Joe Biden. Joe Biden who did, in fact, win Georgia. And karmically, in addition to the scrutiny of the House January 6 Select Committee, Clark also got hit with formal ethics charges over this. Another lesser-known but equally dangerous radical that Trump is currently leaning on is Kash Patel. During the Trump administration, Patel experienced an unlikely but quite stratospheric rise to prominence. He began as a random aide to ex-Republican House member and current Truth Social bigwig Devin Nunes, and ended up as the chief of staff to acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller. Some of Patel's vigorous pro-Trump actions during the end of the Trump administration include encouraging Trump to fire former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper for the heinous crime of not unleashing U.S. troops on George Floyd protesters, blocking some Department of Defense officials from assisting the Biden administration in their transition, and three's probably the weirdest. Three is, and this is not a joke, that after leaving the White House, Patel authored a children's fantasy book called The Plot Against the King, the scintillating narrative of which is literally about how an evil character named Hillary plotted against King Trump. Seriously, people, it's a fucking cult. Between these lesser-known dangerous radicals as well as the standard rogues gallery that I mentioned earlier, a hypothetical second Trump administration is legitimately terrifying. Since quite literally day one of the Biden administration, various Republicans have been calling on President Biden to be impeached. Over time, calls for Biden's impeachment have been echoed by more prominent mainstream Republicans, like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz. And even though I said in the beginning that recent polling indicates that Republican voters are pulling away from Trump, recent polling also indicates that those same Republican voters want Republicans to impeach Biden if they take the House in the November midterms. Then, when you combine all that with the fact that reporting has indicated for months that vengeful Republicans are planning on a program of political retribution if they win big in the midterms, which largely consist of sweeping anti-Biden congressional hearings on the Afghanistan withdrawal, the southern border, and Hunter Biden, then what you have here collectively is a very vivid portrait of the future under Republican rule. It won't be about responsible governance or good faith bipartisan legislation. It will be political retribution. And keeping that genuinely sobering conclusion in mind, never forget that recent polling has indicated that despite all odds, Democrats are closing the gap with Republicans for the November 2022 midterms. So believe it or not, as of now, there is a genuinely good chance to avoid this apocalyptic outcome. For all the Democratic Party's faults, at the end of the day, they are, by far, the better option compared to the Republican Party. So remember that, take heart, and vote blue in November. Every November. Hey you! Yeah, you! Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, and I hope that you did, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe. Also, my link tree is in the description below, so if you have a sec, go ahead and share the love on all my social media accounts. Also, if you want to express an opinion, eternal devotion, or undying contempt, go ahead and leave a comment because we're always looking for feedback. And on that note, I look forward to pondering politics and pop culture again with you very soon.